What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the North Shore 9 postgame show powered by Primanti Brothers. I thought we were going to come on here, celebrate a nice comeback victory, good pitching throughout, and have some good things to talk about, Neil. But Aroldis Chapman had other plans. Mets had other plans. And the Pirates, they come back in the 8th only to blow it in the 9th. They lose 3-2. Outside that, how's your Sunday going, Neil?
I was in a good mood, and then this game happened. I had zero fun watching any of this game. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Full disclosure, everybody watching here, I was at the pool like all day today. Doug was supposed to do this post-game show with Neil. Doug's internet, obviously, is crapping out down in Alabama. So I was like, you know what? I can do it, but I didn't start watching this game until the 8th inning. Well, I guess the good news is all the stuff happened after I started watching. But for the beginning parts of this episode, I'm going to kind of tee things off to Neil. But yeah, we'll get into this. Before we do, though, real quick, BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right up to all the fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE for your first 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. BetOnline. The game starts here. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, which was the 8th inning. The Mets finally get on the board. Outstanding start by Luis Ortiz, and we'll get to him. But Colin Holderman comes in against his former team. He's been a little shaky of late, and he allows the Mets to take the lead in the 8th inning on a Brandon Nimmo double, ricocheted off the wall. There was a relay home where on a perfect relay, Cruz maybe gets Francisco Lindor, but on the transfer, he drops it, so Lindor ends up scoring there in the 8th. But yeah, I mean, I guess let's start with Holderman, because he started off the inning great, struck out Jeff McNeil, but then gives up the single walk, double walk. He hasn't really been as sharp lately as he's been kind of throughout the season. Is there any concern here with Holderman for you, or is this just he's going through a rough patch? He's been so dominant, I'm not worried about him. It's just kind of sucks. He's going through some stuff right now.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. Out of all the things I'm concerned about with this team, I'm not concerned with Colin Holderman. Relievers have bad games, and he's had a couple bad games recently, and it happens. That's okay. But no, as annoyed as I am, he gave up 1 run, and it was the first run the Mets scored in the 8th inning. So I'm not going to be on his case. He's been good for us. I'm much more mad about the guy who came in after him.
Yeah. Before we get to that, though, so Mets take the 1-0 lead, but then the Pirates come scratching and clawing back. Jack Sawinski pinch hits to start off the 8th with a single. Then, I mean, this is kind of where we can just get into this offense and how frustrating they are. First off, what's your take on this philosophy? So you've got 6 outs to score a run at this point, right? Runner on first. You're down by 1. You've got to score at least a run to extend the game. Michael A. Taylor up to bat. Obviously, not a great hitter. Batting average slightly above 200. He does lead the team in sacrifice bunts, but we've seen him also lately just not come through in those types of situations. First off, are you okay with bunting there with 6 outs left in the game, and you're voluntarily saying, you know what, take 16.666 repeating, take that percentage of my outs remaining, take it from me. I'm trying to just score 1 run. What's kind of your take on that?
I don't know. I see both sides. I know it's not helpful. Like, I understand why, because I'm sorry, Michael A. Taylor's not. I don't trust Michael A. Taylor to hit the ball out of the infield. So I get it. And you probably don't want to put Jack Suwinski in center trying to close out a game. But yeah, I can definitely see like you you pinch hit for him and let someone else hit. Because I see a very real possibility that Michael A. Taylor hits into a double play on a soft ground ball.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they did it, but yeah, I don't think that's why they lost the game.
Yeah,
I understand the frustration.
No, I agree. I don't think that's why they lost the game either. And I think you've got Michael A. Taylor out there who clearly can't hit. And so it's like, do you risk him grounding into a double play? Do you pinch hit Palacios right then and there? Or do you try to move the runner over? They tried to move the runner over. Just dreadful execution by Michael A. Taylor. So he strikes out, bunting foul on strike 2. So that brings up Kutch. Kutch singles, moves Suwinski to second. Brian Reynolds strikes out. Joshua Palacios comes in and walks. The base is loaded for Nick Gonzalez. And hey, just as he's done kind of ever since he's come up, Nick Gonzalez comes up in a big spot, delivers a 2-run single. Pirates take a 2-1 lead. Can't say enough about Nick Gonzalez. Even lately, like he hasn't been as hot as he was when he first came up that first month. But he's still driving in runs. Those were RBIs 29 and 30 on the season. And it was a big spot. Like he had to come through there, and he did.
Yeah. And his Bulls swinging first pitch after Diaz walks Palacios on 4 straight balls. Like he was aggressive. It was a really good at bat. The offense in the 8th inning was really good. You know, they fought well. They found the holes. They took the pitches they needed to. Like, I wish we saw the 8th inning more often because
yep,
the rest of the game was so bad, and the 9th inning was even worse.
Yeah, that takes us to the 9th. So they grab the lead. Aroldis Chapman comes in. David Bednar still on the IL. He should be starting a rehab appearance soon, is what Sherrington said today. But as of now, Bednar still on the IL. Chapman comes in, and he's just a disaster right off the bat. Walks Francisco Alvarez after starting him off 0-2. Comes back, walks him, then gives up a single to Harrison Bader. And then kind of settles in. You start feeling good. He strikes out Vientos. He strikes out Torrens. So you got 2 outs, first and second. And then he can't finish the game. He walks Jose Iglesias. He gives up a 2-run single to Francisco Lindor. He walks Brandon Nimmo. And then eventually he gives way to Kyle Nicholas, who's able to finally get that 3rd out. But Chapman threw 40 pitches to those 7 batters he faced. His 3rd blown save of the year, his 4th loss. You could also say like Yasmani Grandal came in as a catcher that inning, and
I don't get it.
He didn't look good. Multiple dropped balls back there, including a big foul tip.
Drop the 3rd strike if 3rd strike foul tip.
It's just kind of going back to that. Like every time, it seems like Yasmani Grandal can't go a series without like negatively impacting a game in a big way. But also at the end of the day, like Aroldis Chapman needs to be better.
Yeah,
like he's got to come through there. He's your big signing from this offseason. You gave him $10.5 million to be able to close out games like this, and he didn't.
No, he's going to get traded at the deadline, and I'm not going to be sorry to see the end of him. Like I didn't like him coming in. He's way too inconsistent to be being paid as much money as he is. He's one of the highest paid relievers in baseball, and he can't consistently finish the job. I don't really care that he had a really good month leading up to this. No, you never feel comfortable with him coming in, and he can't get out the bottom of the Mets lineup. If you're paid $10.5 million and you can't get out DJ Stewart, Mark Vientos, and Luis Torrens and Jose Iglesias, what are you doing? What are we doing here?
Yeah. Not good. Again, you bring him in for big moments like this, and I've been saying this all week. There's no such thing as a must-win game the first week of July, but these games are as close to a must-win as possible because you're facing teams that you're directly competing with these last couple wild card spots for. And the Mets are one of those teams. The Cardinals were one of those teams earlier in the week. These are games that you have to win because if you don't win, like we've seen them now do, they've won 2 out of these 6 games this week. They started off in a spot where I think they were 3 games out of a wild card spot. Now they're 5 games out of a wild card spot. They're just going backwards, and they now have so many teams in front of them that they have to play better than going forward. Now they have to be, instead of being better than 3 teams, now they've got to be better than 5 teams, right? And every single loss that you have, it adds another team. Oh, now I've got to be better than 6 teams. And that's just difficult to do. It's difficult to be better than that many teams that you're kind of all lumped together. So again, you kind of take this and you want to kind of create your own little mini 9-team division, and you want to finish top 2 in that division. And so far this week, they've faced 2 teams above them in that 9-team division, the Cardinals and the Mets, and they're losing. They're losing these games, and that's allowing the Cardinals and the Mets to both kind of separate themselves from the Pirates now. Again, Cardinals 5 up on the Pirates now. Mets 2.5 up with 1 more game to play tomorrow. So yeah, it was a disappointing game by the bullpen. But I think the main story here, as it is most losses, right? This was the 20th time this season that the Pirates had a starting pitcher go 6 innings, and they lose. And it's just directly because of the offense.
Stat. That is such an insane stat to think about. That doesn't happen. And no, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but essentially at this point, the Pirates have to be 15 games above 500 the rest of the way to win 85 games. Does this look like a team that will play anywhere close to that? I think I said in the last time I was on, when was the last time we won 3 games in a row? I would love to know, because I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. We can't string wins together, and I think that what hurts the most is that so many of these games are so winnable. Against the Mets and the Cardinals, this homestand, you should have walked out of here with 4 hit wins. There is no reason we are 2-4 on this homestand. PNC Park being packed every night. There's no excuse for this. It's embarrassing, and no urgency, none at all. And it sucks to watch.
Yeah, it's just disappointing because the urgency factor, right? It's they're getting to the point now where if they can't be winning these series, then it's gonna put them out of this thing. And the trade deadline's in 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. And right now, the Pirates aren't in a position to be buyers.
No, they're not. And maybe you trade for some controlled talent, you tried to trade for a Jazz or a Taylor Ward to build toward next year. But no, you what's the point in buying for this team? I don't think there's a market right now where you can go and just fix this lineup. I don't think it exists. And if it is, the Pirates aren't going to be willing to part with the prospects willing to do it. So it's no, unless something crazy happens in the next 3 weeks, we're sellers, and it's going to be another wasted season. And it's just a shame because the pitching staff is good enough for a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
This front three would be very scary to face in a playoff situation, and they just don't. The offense is so bad.
Yep. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about that, where you line up Keller, Jones, Skeens, Keller, Jones, however you want to do it. You line that up in a playoff series, and you feel good. Like, you feel good about your chances. Like, but the job is to get there. You've got to get to that point, and this team right now isn't good enough to get to that point, which is so frustrating because, again, you've got the difficult part of constructing a team is like putting together that rotation that can win you games in the playoffs. And the Pirates have done that. Like, they've gotten that part done. Mm-hmm. Now you just need to supplement it with a bullpen, and you need to supplement it with an offense that can score runs at an average pace, and they just can't do it. It seems like over and over and over and over again, they have one inning like today where they'll score a few runs here and there. They said all their scoring today comes in one inning. They put up 8 different zeros on the board, and it's just it's just become too common. It's too common of a practice that you're seeing out of this team. They just disappear for large chunks of the game.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day watching this team. It's the same game over and over again, and I'm tired of watching it. Like, I had more fun watching like the 2021 Pirates than I've had watching this year's team, because this team is insanely boring to watch. It's the same offensive struggles. It doesn't matter that Brian Reynolds is having his best year since 2021. It doesn't matter that like the pitching is carrying this team it's the same game. I feel like I've gone on this post-game show like once a week and said the exact same things. And it's so boring. It's so boring to watch.
There really are a lot of shows where we hop on here and it's the same song and dance, right? Like, pitching was good, offense was terrible. Like, and it's like, how many times can we talk about this offense just being terrible? And it's not just one person, it's multiple people. Like, obviously, Brian Hayes actually with 2 hits today. He did have one lapse of, I don't know what he was doing, that infield hit that he had. I guess they gave him an infield hit on that first off, didn't they? Oh no, they gave an error on
that was
Mania.
an error. That was an error on Mania.
So 2 hits plus that. I mean, you actually can't blame Hayes, I guess, today, unless you want to get on for not coming through there in the 8th with runners on.
No, Hayes wasn't the problem.
Yeah, overall he wasn't the issue today, but everyone else, Olivares went 0 for 2. Michael A. Taylor 0 for 2 with that missed bunt too in the 8th. Connor Joe 0 for 2. You had the pinch hitters come in, and Swinski was really the only one to get a hit there. Palacios did draw a walk, but it was just, not a single extra base hit today.
Yeah, I mean, no extra base hits, and even when things go right, even when we get hits, like Joey Bart goes and gets himself thrown out trying to stretch a double, and he has no business doing that. Like, we can't get out of our own way. But this is an offense you put together when you're trying to lose. It's not a major league offense, and it hasn't performed like a major league offense. Like, we're bottom 3 in pretty much every big statistical category you could pull up offensively, and it's the same thing over and over again. And I think Joshua Palacios is actually going to provide a spark, but he's not enough. And there's no one, unless you really think Matt Gorski's going to come up, there's no reinforcements coming to help this team. So I think it's just going to be kind of a terrible July as we waste away to the deadline. Like, it's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, as a team, the position player unit as a whole has 3.8 WAR on the year, that's pathetic. That is absolutely dreadful. In 2021, that the position players put up 7.1. That's basically what they're on pace for. Like, they're on pace to do what they did in 2021 and 2022 2023, they were actually pretty significantly better than they are right now. Like this team offensively has taken a step backwards from where they were last year. And they're now basically at 2021, 2022 numbers right now. And those teams were terrible. And those teams employed players where like, we're going to put this person out on the field over and over and over again because we're trying to lose as many games as possible. Like this team is having trouble outperforming the teams that we're supposed to lose. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. And that's an indictment on how this rebuild has gone. We're in year 5 and Ben Cherington hasn't really figured out how to bring in a single competent offensive player to this point.
Yeah. Again, and I said I don't give him credit for Kutch because Kutch wanted to come back. By the way, this is ridiculous. No. If you didn't see that, the last 3-game win streak was April 6th. Are you kidding me? Like that's absurd.
I think it was the Marlins or
Marlins and the Nationals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like, no, it's inexcusable. And I think I lost my train of thought here. But like the best hitter that he's brought in 5 years, because I don't give him Kutch, is Daniel Vogelbach. I don't think there's a single better hitter that he has signed in free agency than Daniel Vogelbach. And if that is where we are at in year 5, I don't know how you were trusted with the rest of this rebuild, because you don't need to rebuild this team. You don't need to tear it down. There are pieces here that you can build a good team around, but you need someone else making personnel choices because Ben Cherington can't do it. If you can't find a hitter that's better than Daniel Vogelbach in 5 years, that's a problem. Like that's just I can't evaluate talent problem. And it shows. It really shows.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating because, again, back to the pitching performance, like Luis Ortiz was outstanding today.
Yeah.
And he's had a great season overall. But you call upon him now because some starting pitchers have gone down, and he comes in today and gives you 6 scoreless innings, lowers his ERA. He's 2.95 earned run average now for Luis Ortiz. He's been one of the more valuable players on this team. Like, you can sit here on July 7th and be like, we're in trouble right now, but we would be in a lot more trouble if it weren't for Luis Ortiz and how he's
had a really thankless job too. Like he's kind of had like those, you need to come in and bridge the gap, pitch 3 to 4 innings in the middle of the game that no one remembers. But no, these last 2 starts, he's been excellent. Like that is like the one positive is like Luis Ortiz looks like a real guy. The cutter looks really good. The slider looks good. At times he was pumping 99 to get strikeouts that he needed. Like his performance was gutsy. He gave up some like hitters, but he didn't let that affect him. He didn't walk anyone. That was the big thing. I think last year, we were really concerned with that walk rate. Like, but no, he is a different pitcher this year. He looks like an actual guy you can staple into a back of a rotation and say like, hey, this is one of the better back end starters in baseball. I'm not going to say he's an ace or anything, but I mean, after last year, this is about as good as you could have hoped for.
Yeah, he was pumping that fastball today. He averaged 97.1 on it, topped off at 98.6. The slider threw it a lot today. He threw 41 sliders, 48% of his pitches. And that was what he was using to generate swings and misses, 35% whiff rate on that slider. So it's nice to see him really carve out a role for himself. And yeah, he's done really good, and they're probably going to need him to step in now with Falter on the IL, Jones on the IL. Like they're going to need him to start a few games here. And so far, he's passed all the tests when it comes to starting. So,
it's not like he's playing like absolutely terrible teams. Like he's not facing like garbage teams. Like he has gone and like been able to really carve up a pretty decent Mets lineup. Like I know I bragged on Chapman for the bottom lineup. Like there are some good hitters here, and the only one who really got to him consistently was Lindor, and I don't feel bad about that because Lindor he's just a really good player.
Yeah, future potential Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he's on pace. I think he's on pace for it too. Like I have no problem with that. But
yeah, it's frustrating. Luckily, this is a 4-game series, so the Pirates have an opportunity to at least split this tomorrow. It's a day game. It's on MLB Network, nationally televised, 12:35 game. Mitch Keller versus Christian Scott. So you feel good about the pitching matchup just because you got Keller out there. He got roughed up a little bit in his last outing, but overall he's been very, very, very good this year. So you still feel pretty good when Mitch Keller takes the ball. But yeah, I mean, you got anything else to add today? Again, offense was terrible.
Yeah,
pitching was good. Bullpen blew it.
Just one question. So if I told you on, let's say when we were on spring training and I came from the future and I told you that Brian Reynolds would have his best season since 2021, you found actual pitchers in Bailey Falter and Luis Ortiz. You have the best exciting rookie combo in Paul Skeens and Jared Jones. And you have like one of the best start, and Colin Holderman becomes like a premier shutdown guy. Ethan, how many wins do you think you would have? Like what do you think our record would be just based off of that information in the offseason?
I predicted this season that we would win 87 games. And I think if you told me all those things were happening, I'd say, you know, I feel pretty good about my prediction.
Okay. Yeah, you would think. And like that's what should be happening. And I think that's why these games hurt so much, is that you can like see the vision of a good team if just some players weren't here. But that's all I have.
Yeah, I was fired up on some hopium after that spring training. I was like, Brian Hayes is crushing the ball. Henry Davis looks like he's going to be outstanding.
I'm sure you've been dragged quite a bit for the Jack Sawinski take too.
Yeah, that's true. Future 2024 All-Star Jack Sawinski that hasn't panned out really. Yeah. All right. But yeah, let's get out of here. Rough game, frustrating loss. Like I said, 3-2 loss. Karin Majinski pitched a shutout seventh. We didn't mention his name, so we'll at least throw that out there. He did get the job done out of the bullpen. But yeah, outside that, a couple other transactions happened today. Henry Davis was activated off of the injured list and optioned to AAA. So for all those people who were hoping that Grandal was going to be out when Davis was healthy, better luck next time.
Get to watch more of Yasmani Grandal. I can't believe my life.
Yep, there we go. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your Sunday. We'll be back tomorrow. Starbucks in the morning, and again, some day game baseball in the afternoon. We'll have your post game show, and hopefully giving away sandwiches tomorrow. But yeah, that's all we got.
I even broke this out for the first time because in the eighth inning, I'm like, hey, we'll be able to give some out, and no, I couldn't.
Yeah. Well, in the eighth inning, when Doug was having internet issues, he was like, "Can someone cover for me?" And I was like, "Sure, I can talk about a win with Neil. I'll just tee him up all day, and we can talk about how great Luis Ortiz was and how timely the hitting was." But yeah, didn't get to do that.
Yeah. Well, there's always tomorrow.
Always tomorrow. So have a good Sunday, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the page if you haven't, leave a review if you're listening on the podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you here in the chat. But yeah, have a good rest of your day. We'll catch you later. See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.